Now, a very, very big thank you for all those who ran today. And why were they running, you might ask? Tomorrow is the 1st of December, and we're going to be marking the World AIDS Day. This day is important to us because this is something that is affecting a big portion of our population. Now, statistics show that last year we had about 20,000 new infections, not total infections, new infections. And 41% of these were actually affecting the youth and adolescents. So this might make you know why we have some very special guests with us on the show, because we realize that the youth are our future. When you look at Kenya, our population is young, and this means that almost 60% of our population is composed of those who are aged under 24, and the future is in our hands. Now, on the show today, I am your host, Dr. Lauren Mangesa, yani Daktari wa kina mama, and I am based at Akira Care and at the Nairobi Hospital. Now, joining me today is Dr. Lois Ombajo, who is a consultant physician and a specialist in infectious diseases. And she's going to tell us where she gets her name, because she's celebrating a very special person today. Karibu sana, Daktari.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mangesa. And good evening to you and to all our viewers. And yes, my father-in-law celebrates his 86th birthday today.
Wow.
So, Dad Mzee Ombajo, happy birthday to you.
Thank you. Now, we have some other two very special guests today, and you will know once they tell us their stories just why they're very important to our discussion today. Now, we have Christopher. Christopher, karibu sana to the show today.
Thank you so much, Lauren, for hosting us today.
Asante.
And I'm looking forward for this great conversation.
Perfect. And Zipporah.
Hi.
Hi.
My name is Zipporah and I'm so blessed to have this talk today so that at least we can have the right information and we can end stigma, since it is one race, one goal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Now, I'm going to, before we start, just going to let these young ones tell us a little bit about their story and why they're here before we get into our discussion. Now, today we're talking about HIV and AIDS, and just now you're going to know exactly why their stories are so important to us. So we're going to start with you, Christopher. Just in very brief, if you could just share with us what your experience has been.
I'm Christopher. And thank you for hosting us today. I'm grateful to have this platform just to share my story and help understand what it takes for one to grow with HIV. I was born and raised with HIV, but also I was diagnosed late. My mom died when I was 3, and then things were so tough. Traveled to Mombasa, and from then we landed to an orphanage, where now the orphanage was managing children who are positives. And I have a sister, a big sister. She's negative, so she was separated with me when we were going to the orphanage, whereby she went to a different orphanage because they don't manage positive children. So from 5 years, that's when I was diagnosed that I'm HIV positive. But by then, my health had deteriorated so far, and I developed a skin disease. So I was diagnosed with skin disease that really took a bit of my life since primary and a bit of high school until now, when I took that chance and I got healed through some medication. But through the journey, I can also attest that there are different mental challenges that come through with it, because my only strong support, that was my grandma, was murdered in her shamba. And this thing tore me apart. Remember, I am experiencing loss and grief. I am HIV positive, and also at the same time, I am experiencing a very bad skin disease. I couldn't wear shoes, I couldn't wear clothes, I didn't have hair. I was stigmatized for that. Yeah. So looking at that, all that, it is too much for a child to have all that yet at a go. So it really deteriorated my mental health, and finding myself even attempting to commit suicide and such things, isolating myself. I don't socialize with my fellow children because of how I am. I couldn't play ball because my feet were so worse, like they were growing, they were expanding to an extent where I can't step down, so I can't play ball, I can't interact with other people calmly or with that, having that enjoyment with other children.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, Christopher, we're going to come back to your story. Now, Zipporah.
Yes.
How old are you? You're a young mom and you have an exciting story about positive living.
Yeah. I'm 24 years and I'm a young mother to a beautiful baby girl who is turning 5 years in December 26. Yeah. December is always my blessing day because that's how I got my bundle of joy. And again, in 2020, I had to accept myself and start coming out public in teaching people living with HIV and those who are negative. So I was born in 2001. My mom didn't have that information. She didn't. She didn't give birth in the hospital, so I was born in let's say midwives, community midwives, and I think from there that's how I contracted HIV. Growing up, I grew up in a stigmatized family where you are called names and so on. People were using that your status for sympathy, like, oh, Zippy, ni mgonjwa, afai kukula hii. Sometimes people used to call me marehemu. Neighbors will tell their children not to play with me because I might infect them. So stigma was everywhere from family. So I was not knowing what was happening. So I thought it was just a normal thing. But in school, things were worse because teachers wouldn't beat me when I'm wrong. They wouldn't mark my book. I was just going there because my mother has paid school fees, so for me to go. And my mom, when I complain to my mom, she will tell me, Zippy, vumilia. That's life. Vumilia kwa sababu uwezi kaa nyumbani. So I was like, why? You can't even at least go and tell them to stop this. But deep down, I knew she was being hurted. And sometimes I would ask her, Mom, mbona mimi tunaona meza dawa kwa nyumba na wengine wako sawa? She'll tell me because you are thin, you don't like eating. So it is just a time when I came to know my status, I tried suicide 3 times.
Wow.
Because I was tired of this life. Each and every time medicine, When you don't take that medicine, you'll be beaten like someone who has done a big, serious thing. So I was like, I will stop. You won't. So sometimes I was fighting with my mom. We would exchange words. She will tell me, you won't die now. If you didn't die in 2001, why die now? And I was like, you guys, this is my life. Leave it for me. But do you know what? I refused taking my medicine for like 5 years. I became fat, beautiful. But one day, AHD, advanced HIV disease, which is called AIDS, it wanted to kill me because I got opportunistic infection. I had TB. I was thin. I stayed in the hospital for 2 years. People knew that I might die. But thank God I'm here. The beautiful mom who never gave up on me was there to save me. And from that day, her prayer has been always go public, talk to people, because many of your friends have died. They just stopped taking their medicine 3 months, 2 months, 1 year. But you see, 5 years, you went down and came up, and most of us were surprised. And in 2020, I got pregnant, and I made sure that my baby daddy is okay. And my daughter too is very healthy and very negative, and I always use her as my successful story. And even I teach her how to live with people who are negative and positive, because we need the negative for our life to move on, and the negative needs us in order to use our experiences to teach the other people who are negative.
Okay, Zipporah, thank you so much for sharing your story.
Thank you.
Now, our theme this year is overcoming disruption and transforming the AIDS response. Now, Dr. Lois, you know, some people might be sitting there wondering, what is even this HIV and AIDS? What are we even talking about? Could we start with that?
Yeah, so thank you. And I really salute Christopher and Zipporah for sharing their story. It's in sharing such stories that we really get to learn about HIV. So HIV is a virus. A virus is, an organism capable of causing infection. So HIV is called the human immune deficiency virus. What happens is that if someone gets infected with this virus, the virus fights the immune cells. So it reduces the immune cells. And we need these immune cells in order to fight infections, such as what Zipporah was saying, opportunistic infections like TB. When this immunity goes down, then infections that normally wouldn't cause, infections in someone whose immunity is well, begin now to attack the body. So people get severe bacterial infections, things like TB, different forms of, infections around the brain, what we call meningitis. Certain cancers may be associated with HIV. So without treatment, this virus attacks the immune cells, and when someone gets to that point where they get many other infections, we say that's AIDS or what's called ukimwi, because now someone is severely ill. But if HIV is treated, and we have very good drugs for that, that suppress this virus, and that allows the immune system to thrive, then we do not get to that point of having AIDS.
So kama unaweza tofautisha, just in simple terms, tofauti ya HIV na AIDS ni nini?
Hasa HIV ni vile virusi ambavyo vinasababisha ugonjwa. If someone has HIV, they can live for a long time without getting to AIDS because their immunity is still able to fight infections. Lakini immunity kienda chini, basi sasa mtu haizi kuzuia yale magonjwa ambayo yanaleta mtu chini sana. So when someone gets to that point where the immunity is so low, that's when we say someone has AIDS, or in Kiswahili they say ukimwi.
Naam, thank you so much, Daktari. Sasa leo tunazungumzia mambo ya virusi vya HIV. Na sasa tunachukua a small break. After that, we're going to be looking at more details on how do you get this infection and what do you do. Share with us your stories. Talk to us on our SMS lines at 22422. Engage us on our socials at UlizaDaktari and at Daktari_Mengesa. Now, in 2024, it's estimated that over 162,000 young people are living with HIV, and this is the ages between 10 and 24. Approximately about 122 new infections occur weekly, and this is over 6,000 cases, and that accounts for over 32% of infections. So this can help you understand just why this conversation is extremely important for us and all the young people out there. Now, we're going to jump into a few questions straight up before we go back to our audience. Now, first question comes in, says, can one get HIV and AIDS from a one-time unprotected sex? Yani mara moja tu. Next question. Another viewer asks, hello, Daktari, can someone stay negative after sleeping with a HIV positive person? And can it take more than a year after sleeping with an infected person for someone to test positive? Now, we have other questions coming in on our SMS lines. Says, hello, Daktari, can someone stay negative? Can someone stay negative after sleeping with a HIV positive person? So that was the last question on screen. Now, I'm dating a lady who is HIV positive. I always make sure she's taking medicine well and she eats well. I used to fear the fact that she's infected, but through research, I got to realize there's nothing to worry about. Mwingine anauliza, Daktari, how long does it take for the symptoms to show after one gets infected? And the last question says, this is a commentary for our guests. Says, thank you very much, Zipporah and Christopher. And this is from Nicole. Says, thank you for sharing your stories. It has motivated me a lot. Okay, so Daktari, maybe we just get into how do we get this infection? Maulizo hapo, mara moja tu inaweza kuwa.
Yeah, okay. So the way HIV is transmitted from one person to another, the most common is through sex. That's the most common. And I think even as we talk about the number of young people who are getting HIV, a lot of this is sexually transmitted. We have other ways in which HIV can be transmitted, and Zipporah and Christopher shared with us some of their stories. Can be transmitted from a mother to a child. If the mother is positive, not taking medication, and the level of virus in the body is high, then they can transmit that during pregnancy, during delivery, and commonly during breastfeeding. The other ways are are certain unsafe practices, sharing of needles. So if you have people who are injecting drugs and sharing needles, if you have unsafe tattoo practices, for example, those are common ways in which HIV can be transmitted. But by far the most common is sexual transmission. I know people always ask, can it be transmitted through saliva if I shake someone's hand? But no, those ones generally will not transmit HIV. It's really through sexual activity or where there's unsafe practices where blood can be passed on from someone to another, for example, as you said, with injection drug use. So that's one. I think the next question was, can it happen one time? Yes, it can. Yes, it can. Maramoja is enough. So transmission can happen one time. And that means that people can decide that, oh, I'll just do this once. I don't know the status of the other person, because you can get HIV from that one encounter with someone whose status you do not know. So that's an important thing for people to remember. I think someone asked that they've lived with someone who's HIV positive for a long time and they're not getting HIV, and that's true. When someone who has HIV takes treatment, then we say it suppresses the virus. When the virus is suppressed, the level becomes very low, which means it's not transmitted from one person to another. But you can't just decide that, oh, the virus is suppressed. You can't tell by looking at someone. So we'll often do tests to make sure that the virus reads, in common language, we say, is undetectable, that the level is so low that when we test the blood, we don't see the virus. It doesn't mean that the virus is not there, just that the levels are very low. And when the levels are very low, then you don't transmit it to another person. And so even couples that live together where one is positive and one is negative, the important thing is that the positive partner consistently takes their medicine, and we consistently check the level of the virus in the blood every 6 months to make sure that it is suppressed or undetectable, so that the other partner is protected.
Zipporah, you have a baby and you've told us some amazing news that she's negative. Tunaongea mambo ya viral load na daktari atatueleza zaidi kuhusu hii viral load. But can you tell us the steps you took as a mother to protect your baby?
My story sometimes is always funny because I always laugh. I got my child when I was in Form 2, and I was young and naive. You know how drug holiday, you take today, after 2 months, you feel okay, you stop taking it. So I came to know I am pregnant when it was 5-6 months there, and my mom noticed. So when she was asking me, I will tell her, no, it is the things that I'm eating, I'm bloating. So she noticed and she told me, you know, this is not a joke, you have to go to the hospital. So after I went to the hospital, they tested, they found out that I was pregnant. I started my clinic immediately. Then I went and had a viral load test where they found I had more than 200 copies of the VL. And the doctor told me, Zippy, you are putting the baby at risk because you might infect her. And I asked the doctor, so what should I do? Because when you're seeing me here, I'm so young to have a child. May I abort it? And she told me, she was ashamed. Zippy, you can't abort it. You can't abort. Now you can use this child as your successful story, where now when we are in support groups, you always doubt that having negative children is something easy, but you always say that it's not easy. So let's try on this. Do not abort it, but let's see how it worked. So I was given a challenge. Every day I was told to use my favorite thing to keep time. And I was introduced to OTZ, Operation 000, where I was told 0 missed drugs, 0 missed viral, and 0 missed appointments, where I don't supposed to miss appointment. I don't have to miss my drugs, and I don't have to miss viral load. So it was hard, but because of the baby, the encouragement that I got, I had to. And in 5, 6, 7, 8 months, my viral load was taken after 3 months, because in hospital, when you become a defaulter, the doctors are always keen on you. So I went and I had 0 copies. And from there, I promised myself that since I'm becoming a mother, no more child these issues.
Okay.
So I went back and started taking my medicine. Then I went to clinic. I was given the supplements. After giving, I went and give birth to the hospital. My baby was 3.8 kgs.
Okay, we have a call. Let's take it.
Okay.
Hello? Hello, Vincent?
Yeah, ni Vincent kutoka Shinyalu.
Habari ya Shinyalu?
Mzuri.
Aya, swali lako Vincent.
Shinyalu tuko salama. Zipporah amesema.
Naam.
Zipporah amesema.
Naam, Vincent.
Anaishi na virusi.
Naam.
Na vile anaishi na virusi, anasema baba mtoto ana virusi. Alitumia njia gani ya kupata yule mtoto?
Napenda sana swali lako, asante. And that's what we are going to get into right after the break. We are going to be talking about how do we prevent our babies from getting HIV for our positively living mothers, and how do we protect our partners as well. So stay tuned and don't touch the dial. And welcome back. So we have a question asking Zipporah, how is it possible that you got pregnant and the baby daddy is okay? And so, hey Zippy, thanks for sharing your story. Do you mind talking about the carrier status for HIV? Mwingine anasema, hello Daktari, please ask Dr. Obanjo to elaborate how a HIV positive person is able to sire a child who is negative. Because Petra anasema, hey Daktari, I dumped my man because he's positive.
Okay. All right, so thanks. So we will talk about prevention, then we can talk a little about treatment.
Yes, please.
So prevention, we said the most common mode of transmission is sexual, which means a lot of our prevention is around sexual prevention. So particularly speaking to young people, let's start with the basics. Abstain. You know, that has to be the basic. Then if those who have a partner, be faithful to one partner, monogamous, yeah? Not monogamous this month with this person and monogamous next month with another. No.
Yes.
Be faithful to one partner. It's good to know your partner's status. So you're not just being faithful where you may get infected. You know your partner's status. Let's make HIV testing normal. You know? So that's one. There are situations where we also have medicine for prevention. So there's one we call PrEP, pre-exposure. Yani kabla ujipate kwa hiyo situation, you can take some medicine. So there's PrEP available in the country. At the moment, it consists of tablets that you take. For women, it would be a daily tablet. Men, most of the times, it may be daily. There are situations where I could say you take it during the time of risk. You have a new partner.
How long before this anticipated?
So we'd say it should be at least 48 hours before, 24 hours before. So it's not, oops, it's happening, let me take one night now.
Quickly.
That will
be a
not
bedroom.
work. Okay. So that's pre-exposure prophylaxis. And one of the things we're looking forward to is an injection for prevention. And a lot of people have been asking me about this injection. There's an injection that's been tested and shown to provide prevention for 6 months. So you get 2 injections in a year. Really, for people who are in high-risk situations, this would be useful. Okay. Then we also have something we call PEP, post-exposure. And this is for the oops moment. Something has happened, you know. Someone was the partner, they didn't know the status. Or someone has suffered some form of sexual abuse.
Yes.
And we give some tablets that someone has to take every day for a month. But you have to start this within 72 hours of that exposure. I have people who come and say, last week something happened. It's too late for me to give you that exposure 1 week later. So it has to be no more than 72 hours after exposure. So that's PrEP and PEP, pre-exposure and post-exposure. So then there's a question of mother-to-child transmission. So can a mother who is positive have a child who is negative? And the answer is yes. It starts with the mother taking treatment so that your virus is undetectable. We talked about the virus being suppressed, that it's so low you can't pass it on to someone else. So the mother needs to be on treatment. We monitor the level of the virus very carefully and make sure the virus is undetectable. And with that, they can deliver normally. If they do not have an indication for cesarean section, they can deliver normally, and they can breastfeed their child where there are no options. You know, some people may choose to give the children formula, but in our community, many times, they may not have safe options for the child. So they can breastfeed, and we continue with treatment throughout that period. We also give some medication to the child so that the baby takes this medication until after they have stopped breastfeeding. So that's how we prevent the mother-to-child transmission. The other prevention is people taking treatment. Same as what we've said for the mother, take the treatment every day at a set time so that the virus is always suppressed. If someone has a virus that is suppressed consistently, then they do not pass that virus to their partner. So taking the treatment as prescribed.
Now, a quick question. Asema Daktari, I am Steve and I'm medic in practice. I encountered a male client who has come for HIV testing. He has happened to open up and told me that he has been sexually engaged with over 200 women with no protection. 4 instances, he found out that 4 of these ladies were actually positive, and he has never taken PEP or PrEP at any time, yet he's still negative. Are there people who are so lucky to escape such situations? And somebody asked about carrier status for HIV.
Okay. So, earlier someone had asked the question one time, and he said, yes, someone can get HIV infection one time. Not everybody gets HIV infected every single time or at that one time. Some people may get infected, others may not get that infection, others may have many misses and not get the infection, but you don't want to be the one who got the infection. You
don't want to be the experiment.
You don't want to be the one who got the infection. So yes, some people can escape, so to speak, and not get the infection, but it's always a risk. Every time someone has sex with a partner whose status is unknown or who is positive and is not on treatment, then you have that risk. You know?
Okay, now
the carrier.
The carrier status. We'll come back to
we can come back to that.
Now, Chris, you're now 27, and you know you've been on this journey since you were 5. You know, riddled with a lot of challenges and even suicide attempts. When did your story turn around, and what helped you, you know, make that switch to start living positively?
Thank you for the question, and I feel that a support system is one of the best things that one can have whenever they're experiencing mental health challenges. I shout out to Mighty Children's Home because they were there for me. They stood up with me and also linked me to psychologist where we did session, but now things happened that everything went wrong whenever we had a group therapy, and then it went so bad that I went back to square one, and now from there I was linked again to another psychologist. We did the session without the group therapy and finished the session, but now there's one thing that he told me. He said, Chris, you need to speak up. You need to talk about your challenge, because that time I was confined with myself. I couldn't speak, I couldn't interact with people because I feel like I don't deserve. With my leg situation, I even told my dermatologist, for peace, kindly cut off my legs, because I feel now it has reached to an extent where now it's not going back, like I'm not healing. So looking at that extent where you are telling us a dermatologist to prescribe your legs to be cut off because of your condition, then it means there's something that has been happening all over and again. Plus now from then, I've been working with young people in Mombasa, just doing this, what I've been told, talking about my status, talking about my issue, coming to Nairobi, still doing the same advocacy. And I feel when I talk, I feel relief.
Wow.
Till today, I talk about my story, and that's how my healing process is.
Started.
Someone can look at me and say, oh, this guy is okay, he's fine. Why is he talking about mental health? But no, you can't tell if someone is okay when never just look at them. You have to go deep and be hear their stories so that you can know where they come from.
Thank you so much. Now, Daktari, I know we had a huge, crisis and dash when the funding situation came up on the HIV front. Could you tell us something about what that has meant in the HIV space and where are we now in terms of funding? Do we have medications, and what do the people living with HIV need to do to get these medications? As you also wrap up for us and give us your final comments.
Okay, thanks for that question. So yes, I think earlier this year we had AskCare. And this care is because a lot of our HIV programs, from the medication to the tests, have been funded by external donors. And so when the US government said we're pulling out on funding, it was quite a bit of a scare. But having said that, we are not in a crisis. We have medication, so people should not be afraid about not having medication. I know many of my patients came and said, are we now going to die? What's going to happen to us? But we have medication. This medication is still available, again, for free in any of the government facilities. That's available. The testing is available. And, you know, there are a lot of other partners as well as government putting in some funding to ensure there's continuity. But one of the things we realize is the way that many of the clinics have run. We have standalone HIV clinics. They're called CCC. Many people would know the term Comprehensive Care Clinic or the CCC. So some of this may have closed, and now patients are required to go through the, the general patient route, go to the outpatient department for their care. But many facilities have maintained these clinics, and they have healthcare workers from within the hospital, either seconded by the county or government, to provide care within this CCC. So the clinics still exist, medication still exists. So no one should stay home thinking all is lost, because they still exist. In terms of a way forward, I think one, for government, it has to be thought around how do we continue to fund HIV services. We cannot afford to lose the handle on HIV, because if people are not well treated, we'll have transmission, people will get sick, and more people will die. So we really have to think about funding. And then for people living with HIV, think about registering for SHA and getting insurance, so that those are the tests that you require can be covered.
All right. Now, thank you so much for being on the show. Thank you so much, Dr. Lois. Thank you, Christopher and Zipporah. Now, this is a conversation that we're just starting, and we'll be carrying forward on our socials. That's on Facebook and Instagram, at UlizaDaktari on Citizen, and on my page at Daktari_Mengesa. Thank you for listening, and tomorrow, please wear your red ribbon and support us in this quest of making sure that everyone is aware and we can zero in on this scourge. Thank you for watching, and see you again next Sunday at 8 p.m.